G'day and welcome back to the Ranty Chair. I'm sitting in the Ranty Chair again another week. More news from the hobby, more insights, more information, hopefully a bit more humour or something. Who knows? Just stay tuned. You might find something interesting. And I'm going to start off today with some pretty kind of shocking news for old codgers like myself who've been in the hobby for thousands of years. One of the biggest names in the hobby in the USA has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. I'm talking about Hobbico. Hobbico is the owner of Tower Hobbies and a whole lot of other brands that most American modelers my age will certainly remember, and certainly most of them will have used Tower or Hobbico products at some stage. And it's kind of worrying because it means, well, if Hobbico goes bust, it's going to take a lot of product out of the market. And sometimes you rush down to the local hobby shop for a Clevis or a linkage or something like that. Where are you going to get that from? Because the hobby shops, a lot of them rely heavily on companies like Hobbico for the supply of parts. And because there's no real value in a hobby shop importing something from Hobby King, whacking a big markup on it and trying to sell it, because every man and his dog knows, you just go online to Hobby King or Banggood and buy it straight directly. And that's why Hobbico has found, or one of the reasons Hobbico has found itself in dire financial straits, is because the whole world has changed in the last 15 years. I think Hobbico was started in the 1980s, and since then everything has changed. Back in the 80s, 90s, noughties, when you wanted to build a model aircraft, you'd go down to your local hobby shop and you'd buy the bits and pieces, or you'd buy a lovely big kit off the shelf, or ARF even, you'd take it home and you'd set it all up and you'd fly it, right? Now that kit or that ARF or those parts came from a wholesaler. So your retailer bought them off a wholesaler. The wholesaler bought them off perhaps a distributor or a manufacturer. So there were like the manufacturer had his markup, the wholesaler, distributor had their markup, and the retailer had their markup. So it's 3 lots of markup on everything you bought, which meant things were expensive. Radio control sets were expensive, servos expensive, motors expensive, airframes expensive, everything was expensive because you were paying the profits of 3 organisations. But then the interwebs came along and everything changed rather quickly too. Suddenly you could buy directly from China, where a lot of the stuff is now made, so you don't need a retailer. You take the hobby shop out of the equation. Hobby shops, why would I go and pay $5 for something at my local hobby shop when I can get it for $2 from China, including shipping? And of course, sometimes now even manufacturers are selling directly, so you take out the wholesaler as well. So you get, just one margin, which is the manufacturer's margin, because they can set up a website and then they can sell directly to you. And if they're in China, then they basically get free postage, and so you don't even have to pay for expensive shipping. So that meant that places like Hobbico and Tower Hobbies and your local hobby shop, they've been priced out of the market. Now they do try and compete. Local hobby shops, a lot of sympathy for them. They try and compete by providing expertise and knowledge and assistance at a personal level. But again, the interwebs has really kind of made that less important than it used to be. I mean, if I want information on something, I can go online, I can go to forums, I can go to YouTube, and there's all the information I need. My local hobby shop probably doesn't know as much as these other sources do. So, and of course, because the hobby is now so diverse, we've got FPV, and we've got multi-rotors, we've got fixed wing, we've got electric, still got nitro, we've got gas engines. It's not like the old days when it was a pretty small selection of product. Now you've got such huge amounts of product, the local hobby shop can't even think of sort of stocking everything. So the odds are if you go in there for something, you're probably not going to find it anyway. And it means also that the local hobby shop proprietor, it used to be there was one guy who owned a shop and he'd been flying models since Adam was a boy and he knew everything about everything. Now, unfortunately, those hobby shop operators now are finding themselves pretty much dinosaurs because everything's changed. These old hobby shop proprietors were brought up in the days of glow plug motors, nitro motors, and Cox motors, and the old long wire radio gear, and now it's all 2.4 and foam and electric and FPV and flight controllers, and a lot of them are finding themselves way out of their depth. They can't help their customers because they don't know that much about it. And so hobby shop, and of course to stay alive these days, property of all kinds is rocketed in price. So even just paying the rent for the hobby shop, the lease on the hobby shop, means they have to put huge margins on their products. So again, why would you pay $5 from the local hobby shop when you get the same thing for $2 from China? It's a changing world, and much as I have sympathy for hobby shops and wholesalers and things like that, distributors, they're just not necessary anymore. And it's like farriers, back in the 1800s, farriers were like really important businesses. They would, make horseshoes and put them on your horses, and they'd do all the other stuff you needed to keep your horse in good nick, change the oil and water at regular intervals. But then the horseless carriage came along, and suddenly farriers, don't need those, we've got mechanics now. So it's a transition, it's a change. Now, I'm old, I'm supposed to be violently opposed to change, because when you get old, you just want the status quo. You don't want things different because it makes life uncomfortable and you've got to learn new stuff. Well, I'm sorry, I don't fit the mold. I embrace change. So I'm really glad that things have changed from the point of view that as a model flyer and as a consumer, I'm getting much cheaper stuff. I'm getting much better service. I'm getting much more capable equipment, and it makes the hobby much more enjoyable to me. Right, so I'm not a crusty old guy with castor oil in my veins and bolts of cement stuck to my fingertips. Not anymore. I fly electric. I fly multi-rotors. I fly FPV. So yeah, I am not your traditional old guy. I'd make a lousy hobby shop owner. But there you go. So Hobbico is now in Chapter 11, bankruptcy protection, which basically means it didn't have enough money to pay its bills, so it sought protection from the courts to stop its creditors, the people who it owes money to, from foreclosing on the debt and trying to have them declared bankrupt. It's bankruptcy protection. It's not bankruptcy, it protects you against bankruptcy. It's a bit of a difference there. So Hobbico is still trading because the Chapter 11 protection gives you time to try and reorganise your finances and your assets to become liquid again, and to help you trade your way out of it if you can, or find a buyer. And that's what Hobbico is doing. They're looking for a buyer. They want someone to come along and buy the whole thing. It becomes very difficult to sell a business when you are in bankruptcy protection, though, because obviously you don't have enough money to pay your bills. So if you take the amount of money owed here and the amount you're worth there, often this is bigger. So why would anyone pay to buy a debt, an overall debt, zero negative equity? But people do. People do. There may be someone out there who can see the potential to turn Hobbico around, make it more efficient, or provide some kind of killer benefit in the marketplace, and they may buy it and completely revamp it, and everybody wins in that case. Everybody wins. The creditors get their money, and customers get better products, and the person who buys a company potentially has the ability to make profit out of it. But more often than not, that doesn't happen. So, and in a market like the hobby market, the RC hobby market, where China really has just dealt a blow to so many companies, because also JR, remember I mentioned JR a while ago, they were in trouble, and people say, oh no, they're just restructuring and they're still manufacturing. Well, no, they've gone tits up now. They've gone bankrupt. They're end of JR, gone. There is no more. And that was just a few weeks ago too. So it's all happening now, isn't it? It's all, writings on the wall for so many of the good old names that we realise that we've recognised in the hobby for so long. Will it happen to Futaba? Nah. Futaba's got some really big industrial remote control operations which will subsidise the hobby side for as long as they choose to remain in the hobby. But I think other companies like High-Tech and brand names we used to be familiar with, they'll go the way of Kraft and many of the other early systems, RCS. A lot of companies were around when I was a kid. They're not here anymore. Radio control companies, they've all gone by the by. And I think that's, it's just, again, it's change, it's evolution. Things change and companies come and go. So we just have to be aware of that. So would I buy products from Tower Hobbies at the moment? I don't know. It's kind of, yeah, I'd hate to say no, but I'd be cautious. I would be a little bit cautious, because if it goes from Chapter 11 to Chapter 13 or whatever, where they finally declare bankruptcy, you could find yourself having bought something that you don't get. It's not going to happen overnight, but it could happen. So just keep a wary eye, a weather eye on what's happening at Tower Hobbies Hobbico. I do hope that someone comes and rescues them, because they're an institution in the hobby. They're really, really important that we have this other tier of product support. And moving on from that rather dreary note to something more exciting. There's a Trans-Pacific Drone Challenge going on. A Trans-Pacific Drone Challenge. If you can fly a drone, which model aircraft, whatever, from Japan to California, you could win many, many thousands of dollars. I think there's a lot of money involved. I'm not sure. I didn't check to see if there's a prize, because it's not the money that would interest people doing that. I think it's millions. Might have been millions of dollars. I'm not sure. I'll put a link to that challenge in the diddly-do down here, so you can go and have a look. But basically, if you can get a model or a drone or whatever to fly from Japan to California from the points they designate, then you could win a lot of money. A lot of money. So, hey, what would be involved in it? I saw that and I thought, oh, God, no. Because how are you going to do it? For a start, the regulations will kill you. Flying beyond visual line of sight is illegal in just about every country in the world. So how are you going to manage that? Now, the military do it. or if you've got a special commercial authority, but even those are pretty thin on the ground, you can do it. But could you do it over 5,000 miles? I don't know. I don't think they'd let you do that. Only the military have that authority. So, yeah, it may be one of those challenges that someone puts up because they know no one's going to do it anytime soon. And it gives them a lot of press and publicity, right? Because people, oh, have you heard about the challenge? And so the name gets mentioned all over the place. So I'm going to put a link to that. You're going to have a look. You tell me what you think. I'm not even going to mention the name of the company or the group that's sponsoring it because it would be free publicity for them, wouldn't it? And I'm a little cynical about why they've done this. But if you think you might want to do it, then hey, build a plane into it. Go for it. Go see what you can do. To give you an idea, it'll probably have to fly for about 2 days continuous to travel the distance. And to be honest, it's not that big an ask, actually. The regulations are more of a challenge than the technology because way back, I haven't looked it up, I should look it up on the interwebs, but a guy called Maynard Hill, I think it was, flew across the Atlantic with a model. He flew a model aircraft across the Atlantic. It landed in Ireland, I think. And that was like 60s or 70s. It was ages ago. Might have been probably 70s or early 80s, to be honest. But it was a long, long time ago. And he had no problems with regulations. There was nothing stopping him except just the technical challenge. These days, technical challenge, much easier. I mean, he's proven you can do it. So you could just build his plane and just make it better and still do the job. But you'd probably get yourself arrested for flying recklessly. Oh, where do you fly a toy over the middle of the bloody Atlantic? Do you know who we are? We're the regulators. We can't possibly have that. Yeah, so, and that also brings up something even more interesting and sinister, is what happens when you build a model aircraft or a drone that can fly those distances? Well, ask the Syrians. According to news reports last week, a bunch of Syrians built some drones that attacked a Russian military target, So, and I thought, wow, I wonder what technology they're using. And I looked at the pictures and I was gobsmacked. It looks like they've got some hot wire foam cut wings and laid some balsa or pine or spruce spars, covered it with shopping bags. They've made some kind of real cockamamie fuselage up. The tail looks like corflute, and they've stuck a weed whacker motor on the front, and that is their, they've stuck some bombs along the wings too, and that's their drone. And apparently most of them didn't get through, but some did. But the Russians were able to take control of some of them and land them and whatever. Yeah, okay, maybe they spoofed the GPS or something, I don't know. But really, all the stuff you see in that drone is off the shelf. Anyone can build it in their own backyard, right? And this is something that I predicted back in 2002. I became world famous because I predicted that someone would build a low-cost cruise missile using off-the-shelf parts, such as radio control systems and all that sort of stuff. You could get on eBay and they'd make it out of regular materials you get from the hardware shop. And it's been done. I was only 16 years early. Am I a prophet or what? So, yeah, it had to happen. Now, I know some people are saying, oh, this is terrible for the hobby because look at this. People have used model aircraft. The Syrians have used model aircraft in an offensive manner. Terrorists have used model aircraft to attack targets. And I'm thinking, so what? I mean, really? Look at all the other ways they do. Toyota pickup trucks. How many Toyota pickup trucks do you see in conflict areas which are being driven by terrorists with sort of someone's welded a machine gun on the back and they go around shooting stuff up? Or how many trucks have been fitted with improvised explosive devices and driven by suicide bombers? But do we say, oh, we must suddenly ban all trucks or restrict the use of trucks because people have used them as terrorist weapons? No, we don't do that. And in fact, in America, believe it or not, terrorists have used guns. You can walk into a Walmart and buy a gun. So why would you think that the fact that some terrorists have built some rather ineffective model aircraft-based drones and attacked some Russian target, why do you think that would have any effect on regulation? Of course it won't, because we've already got the precedents. We're not extra regular. Let me just start again. Since terrorists started using pickup trucks, there's been no extra regulation of pickup trucks. Since terrorists started using guns, there's been no extra regulation of guns in places like the USA. And since terrorists started making suicide vests, there's been no extra regulation of men's clothing. So, really seriously, people are always looking for an excuse to say, oh, bad things are going to happen. Nah, forget it. I defy anybody to draw a long enough bow to connect those terror drones with the stuff we fly. It ain't gonna, no way. Of course the media will try. But even the regulators and the politicians are just not that stupid. Are you, Mr. Trump? No, of course you're not. I like your hair, by the way. And he is a regular watcher of the vlog. I know that because he sends me tweets, personal tweets. You don't see them, but I get them, you know. And so I pass them on to Kim Jong-un, and he laughs and sends me tweets, and I pass them on to good old Trumpy. So yeah, I'm the middleman, bartering peace in the Korean Peninsula. Look at that. And you thought it was just a vlog. No, it's not. It's world peace. I plan to cure all known diseases shortly. So if you thought today's vlog was any good, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was absolute crap, give it a thumbs down. If you can't make your mind up, well, you're probably amongst the majority, because only about 10% of the people decide to go up or down anyway. The rest of you, what's wrong with you? Have your say. Get involved. And into the comments. Have a say in the comments. People want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think, because I need to know, you know, the general feeling out there, so perhaps I can tailor the content of these vlogs and rants to better suit your expectations. There you go. That's it. Another vloggy ranty thing from the vloggy ranty chair for another week. Stay tuned. More coming up next week. Bye for now.